Yo, 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 and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylar.
I'm Morgan. Happy Thursday and happy episode 268.
268. Happy Thursday.
Guys, it's freezing here in Knoxville today.
It's Monday. Let me tell you what date it is. It's Monday, November 10th, the day I got engaged 6 years ago.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, Morgan reminded me.
It just popped up on like my Snapchat memories, this hilarious video of Lola. And I was like, wait, I want to see the ring because Taylar and Logan had just got engaged.
Literally just got engaged.
And Lola already had a video of it. She goes, don't worry, I have a video of it. On her finger.
On her bright neon pink nails.
So funny. Did you send it to her?
No, I need to. I need to send it my family group message. I wonder if Logan even knows that this is our engagement day.
Probably not.
November doesn't exist to me.
I don't even know mine.
Yours is in July 9th?
Is it?
July 9th.
I don't know. Like,
sounds semi-right to me.
Why don't men think of dates? Easy remembering dates.
I know.
I mean, November 11/10 is like pretty.
Well, 11/10 is the day before my dad's birthday. You'd think I'd remember. And now it's my nephew's, Logan's brother's baby's birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Happy birthday, Joseph. We went to his
baby Joe.
First birthday party this weekend, yesterday, on Sunday.
So cute.
It was warm. It was outside, and now it's snowing.
I know. We literally were telling Nikki not to drive.
Yeah.
Friday night because it was so bad. Tornado warning.
70 degrees. Yeah, no.
Hot as fuck. Storming. Heat lightning.
Last week was so warm. And I just never in a million years would have thought that we were gonna get a Tennessee November snow.
No, I mean, and it was barely a snow, but it was a snow.
I mean, it was coming down up here.
It was just so hot that like nothing stuck.
No, well, actually, when I woke up, so we woke up this morning, and Logan went downstairs to go start making our coffees, and I went to go open up the curtains, and I look out on the roof, and there's snow. And then I look out on my neighbor's roof and there's snow, and I'm looking around, I'm like, there's no more snow anywhere. And then I'm thinking, wait, is like, this not right? Like,
is this ash?
Is like, well, I'm thinking, did my roof freeze? Like, is there a hole in my roof? Like, I don't know why that's where my brain went, but like, I was thinking there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then I come down the stairs and I'm looking around and I'm like, Logan, there's snow on the roof. And he's like, Taylar, there is not snow on the roof. It did not snow. I'm not shitting you. 20 minutes later, we look outside. It's coming down. And and he was like, oh shit, you're right. It was snow on the roof.
I will say though, when I woke up, well, it was snowing on my way to work, but like barely. And I didn't have to defrost my windows, which is so weird.
Because it didn't drop until a few hours before you would have been getting up. Because I last night, when we went to bed, everyone was like, drip your sinks, make sure that your outdoor garden hose is on. And like, so I made Logan go outside because I did need to detach the garden hose because I was like, that will. I know there's water sitting in that and that will get us in trouble. So I was like, go ahead and detach that, roll it up and put it in the back because I'm not buying the XXXL 30-foot water hose that was given to us by the previous owners of this house. I'm not buying that myself.
Yeah.
That is a really good one. Do not let that one rip. Okay? Because Logan's going to be really sad when he figures out how expensive those are. Why do I know and he not? Like, maybe I spend more time at the Home Depot.
Definitely.
At the Home Depot. And so anyways, I made him go outside and do that. And then I was like, should we trip the sinks? Like, what's going on? Well, we went out. It was like kind of chilly, but it was still like warm when we were going out. Logan was like, should we? So whenever we have the heat on, I leave it on like 64, 65. Because don't forget, Morgan, hold on. This house is not like your house. Your house, we had to have it set on 72 when we lived in that house because it will not stay warm for fucking anything.
64?
64 because, hold on, we have that heater in the living room that I turn on and that heats up this entire house.
Oh, yeah.
So it will be like 68, 70 by the time we go to bed. And so I turn that off so the heat's not pumping while we're going to bed. It can cool down the house a little bit because it's so hot. We're upstairs now. Heat rises. Mm-hmm. So we've been going to bed in a sauna the last few nights. So I'm like, turn it on 65. I don't think it's going to be that bad. Like, I really don't. If we're not going to drip the indoor sinks, then we're not doing that. We wake up in a fucking tundra. We were freezing. I was like, turn it on 70. Get the house at 70. Turn on the heater. But he was like, turn on the heater. It was nice. What?
Before Aaron jumped out of bed and went and changed it.
What?
74.
Okay, well, that is psychotic. But, 74 in that house is 68.
Well, they actually did fix it last winter, remember?
Oh, yeah. It's the escapes. It's the escapee.
Yeah.
So overnight.
My garage door is broken. Yeah.
Won't go up or down.
The bottom panel is completely knocked out. I have it taped from the backside.
You're kidding.
I don't know if it was an animal. It wasn't us.
No.
I don't know if it was a person. I don't know if it was an animal. I don't know. But like, if it was a person, you're an idiot because it's unlocked.
You're a fucking idiot.
Just like, open it.
Just why were you going to crawl in through the panel?
Really though. So I think it was an animal.
Yeah.
Like, because I did notice like a little corner of it. And then I came home and I was like, that was bad.
Yeah.
From Pennsylvania. I noticed it.
Yeah.
But wait, this is so funny too. So last night I just got like absolutely terrible sleep.
Yeah, she was telling us about that.
So Ollie, we all know he sleeps under the covers.
Right.
In between Aaron and I. And he's usually down by our knees and stuff. And Aaron will like purposely like spread out. That way Ollie doesn't touch him because he does not want Ollie touching him. I'm Aaron. And Ollie, so he lays like on top of my legs. And I love it. I even said last night, I said, I hope when Ollie's 12 years old and like his day comes, I hope this is where he dies.
Oh. What is wrong with you?
I
No
don't
wonder
know.
you slept so bad.
I don't know.
She's like, I don't know why I slept so bad. But when he dies,
I think about it every day. Okay. But so anyway, well, he managed to get like under my knees last night. It was just terrible. It was his fault. I got terrible sleep. I wake up and I go to the bathroom and he was already off the bed because he'll like, once my first alarm goes off and I have like 7, he gets up and he goes under the bed.
Yeah.
So he was no longer anywhere near us. I get in the bathroom and one thing that Aaron hates, like even yesterday we were sitting on the couch and Ollie put his head on me, but his butt was right next to Aaron. And Aaron's like, are you kidding me? Get his ass away from my face. Like losing his mind, right? I walk out of the bathroom and this, Taylar, is I had to take a picture. I was cackling. Do you have your phone on you?
Yeah, I have my phone.
I'm going to send it to you because you just need to like zoom in. I walk out and Ollie is staring at me, butt snugged up into Aaron's face. And Ollie's looking at me like, yeah, I know.
Are you going to say something or what? Oh my God. No, guys. Just to explain the picture, Ollie is literally a pillow and Aaron is laying his head on his ass is exactly what is happening.
Look at him looking at me like, yeah, and
Ollie's looking at Morgan like, don't say a fucking word.
And so
don't.
He's also been doing this new thing that whenever I walk out the door, he sneaks out and then he stares at me because he wants fed.
Yeah.
So I'll feed him, but then when I open the front door, the bedroom door, even if I crack it shuts. And then so he'll sit at the bedroom door crying to get back in with Aaron. So I either have to not let him out and let Aaron do all that, or I have to leave it cracked even larger.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, be very careful when I shut the front door. Anyway, I sent the picture to Aaron. When he woke up, he texted me, he goes, yeah, that's how I woke up. I said, really? Because he came out into the living room.
No,
with
he
me.
didn't.
And he was like, yeah, no, I literally woke up with that, like that. I'm going to fucking
So he went and got back in
the
spot.
So he went and got back. But the best part is that like he's like wedged into Aaron. So he like sat down and just like scooted butt
up
right next to his face. It was so
He's
funny.
like, yeah, Dad, here's your pillow.
I mean, his face, his eyes.
It's so funny.
Me.
It is so funny.
The fucking eyebrows.
He knows he's in trouble.
If I would post this, if Aaron wasn't sleeping in it, if he wouldn't kill me, but he would kill me. So.
Yeah, no. But okay, Morgan last night texted me at 10:30. I was wondering why you were up.
I was up at 10:30.
Yeah, that's when you texted me.
Oh, the fucking Steelers game. That's another reason why I got no sleep. Because we had to watch the second half of the Steelers game in the bedroom.
Oh, no. Football's not allowed in the
And they were terrible last night. So Aaron was screaming at the team. That's why. I forgot about that part.
That'll do it. That'll make anybody sleep.
What did I say at 10:30? I don't even remember.
No, it was so Morgan, I posted on my story at 10. And then Morgan responded at like 10:17 yesterday, guys. We went to that my nephew's like first birthday party, and then I just had like some feelings because I'm healing and everything still, and like grief things. And I get home, and I also was waiting on my little sister to get up from Cleveland so I could take her back to her dorm. So I just popped on some earphones, started listening to a podcast, and just literally I have gone crazy. Cleaning has turned into my thing that I'm doing, so I'm not stagnant and thinking about everything and crying. So I'm like moving everything around, deep cleaning everything. I dusted down I cleaned the top floor of this house. Like it was the bottom floor of this house.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How deep I went. I didn't do Logan's office because I was like, this is your workspace. I don't ask you to vacuum my office. You can dust I'm a duster. Logan's a vacuumist of the house. I did all that, and then I post that. Morgan responds to it. And she's like, where's this at? Love this. What's the living room look like? Because I moved half of my sectional upstairs so I could have like a sitting room upstairs to make it a little bit more like a bedroom type of vibe. So I go downstairs and I take a few pictures for her, and then I go to get in the shower. And I sent them to you at 10:24 because that's when I got in the shower. I get out of the shower, so it had to be 15 minutes later, like closer to 10:40, and Morgan has texted me back. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna respond to her because she's...
Wait, yeah, you didn't.
No, because I was like, you're on some bullshit to be awake right now. Like,
now
I'm not
mad.
No, because I'm like, I'm not gonna...
Now I'm scrolling.
I'm not gonna feed into Morgan's insomnia, and I'm not gonna do it. So I was like, I
said it looks so studio loft in the big city.
know. She did. She was like, comedy.
It's giving 204.
It is.
Stone looking out the window.
Thinking that we were in New York. That is exactly what I thought. But Morgan said something really nice back, and I was like, I'm worried about her. Like, I'm not, it feels illegal to be texting Morgan
past 9
o'clock. Like, I don't even let myself, like, I'll send you a DM on Instagram because I know your notifications.
And if it's like
on.
Absolute emergency, she even knows to text Aaron. Because like my phone will shut down. I don't get any notifications at after 9 o'clock. Actually, 8:50 is when they turn off. And then I usually am always in bed by 9, sleeping by 9:30. And it was a fucking Steelers.
Yeah, no.
You know what?
I literally didn't want to respond to you. What?
I put up all my Christmas stuff.
Oh my God, yay. We were going to do that yesterday.
You sent me your list, and I was like, this weekend is not a good weekend. Next weekend, also not a good weekend. Nope. And also, I'm allowed to do it 2 weeks early because I go home for Thanksgiving.
We were going to do it this weekend too. I decided that I wanted to have the house be completely barren, freshly cleaned before I did it. And then we were both so pooped.
Yeah.
And then we had to go down to Cleveland. We got back up from Cleveland at like 4 yesterday.
I saw that.
And we thought, we were like, should we just go and get it? And then I was like, no, the house is so clean. I cannot.
Yeah, I was going to text you after the fact, like at like 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she's already back.
Yeah, normally I'm leaving Cleveland at 8.
Yeah. It was very early.
I got home early. I just was so,
But it looks good, but I want new stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, guys, we will get to this episode.
If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get creepy.
Okay, Morgie Poo, what do you have for us today?
Today, I'm going to be telling you about the story out of Pensacola, Florida.
Oh!
And it starts on March 25th, 1962.
Okay, 1962. We're here.
Somewhere near Fort Pickens in the Florida Panhandle, there was a group of young boys. Some sources do say two. Actually, I'm just going to give a disclaimer here. And I talk about it briefly, but just so we're clear. The majority of my story is from an excerpt from Edward Brian McCleary, who goes by Brian, and his book called My Escape from a Sea Monster.
Okay.
Now, we'll talk about why, but a lot of the newspaper sources from this time differ from what Brian has to say. I listened to a podcast cover this, and it seems as if they went more the newspaper route. Mm-hmm. So if you're hearing this story and you're like, that does not sound like the same story that I heard.
I heard on this other podcast.
I got it directly from
the horse's mouth.
Exactly. Okay, so the story starts on March 25th, 1962. Somewhere near Fort Pickens in the Florida Panhandle, there's a group of young boys, sometimes it just says 2 young boys, walking the shore. And these boys were looking for driftwood and shells when they see something up ahead. Up near what was this old gun emplacement, which is it almost looks like a telescope tower.
Okay.
They're decommissioned, obviously, but this is a fort.
Right.
But they have stairs and stuff, and you would think it's like a lifeguard tower, but at the top of it, it's this big machine gun holder kind of situation going on. So up near what was this old gun emplacement, there was something lying there that was long and it was not moving. At first, the kids were like, oh, driftwood, sweet. But as they got closer, this figure shifts and they realize that it's not wood at all. It's a person. The body belonged to a young teenager, Edward Brian McCleary, who goes by Brian. Brian was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1946 and lived there until he moved with his family to Walton Beach, Florida in 1961. Even though he had only been living in Florida for 1 year before his tragedy, he did have over 3 years of diving experience and was at the time a pre-medical student in a Florida college. When he was discovered on the beach, he was 16 years old.
Oh my God.
His skin was pale, blistered from salt exposure, and he was tangled in what looked to be scraps of rubber and rope, maybe something with similar of a life raft or something. His hair was covered in sand and his lips were cracked and bleeding. Oh, God. And as the kids approached him, they realized that he was alive.
Oh, shit.
He kind of starts to stir around and he began to mumble a little bit, completely incoherent at first, but the boys knew exactly who this was. Oh. They asked him if he was one of the divers that was lost yesterday, to which Brian responds yes, and that he needs help. And how do they know about the accident? Because this just happened.
Right.
And the boys told him that the Coast Guard found his raft this morning and they began a search. The next thing Brian McCleary remembers is waking up in the Pensacola Naval Base Hospital. Breakfast was in front of him, and even though all he wanted to do was eat, his throat was so sore from the salt water that he couldn't eat anything.
Oh, yeah.
Almost immediately, the director of the Search and Rescue Unit came in to see him, and this was Director E. McGovern. It's Edward E. McGovern. Let me back that up.
He's got a really intense name.
Yeah, E.E. Director Edward E. McGovern. And this is when Edward starts asking him, like, what happened? And this is when Brian tells him this entire story while asking, have you found my friends? Where are my friends? Search and Rescue had no success in locating the boys that Brian was with, as they had planes out all morning. After locating the washed up raft that was found 10 miles on the shore from where Brian was found.
Oh, my God.
After Brian recounts the story, he asks Director McGovern if he believed him. And the director says, quote, you know, son, the sea has a lot of secrets. There are a lot of things that we don't know about. People don't believe these things because they're afraid to. Yes, I believe you, but unfortunately, son, there's not much else I can do.
Oh, God.
He asked Brian a few more questions at the hospital before leaving, and that day there were a few reporters coming in and out of his hospital room, only to go back and report on something entirely different than what Brian's versions of events were. Both the Pensacola Journal and Playground News of Fort Walton followed this story. However, their stories do not match Brian's accounts or what the doctors at the Navy base hospital had to say. One report said that Brian had drifted and then swam more than 2 miles that morning. However, the Coast Guard and the Navy rescue units estimated that he swam close to 5 miles. And doctors at the naval base stated that Brian had to have been in the water for over 12 hours to get the injuries that he had. Oh my God. The interviewing reporters told Brian that their stories would not include a specific detail that Brian had told them because it was, quote, better left unmentioned for all concerned.
Oh.
That specific detail that they would not report on was that Brian and his 4 friends, Eric Ruley, 16 years old, Warren Solly, 17 years old, Larry Stewart Bill, 15 years old, and Bradford Rice, or Brad, 14 years old, were attacked by a sea serpent that day, taking the lives of the 4 boys and leaving Brian with one terrible fucking story.
Oh, no.
So let's rewind.
I'm
to
sick.
The day before, March 24th, 1962. Brian, Eric, Warren, Larry, and Brad set out on what seemed like a routine dive. It was perfect diving weather. It was calm, the skies were clear, and the water was even clearer. They launched from near Fort Pickens, aiming to reach a wreck site a few miles offshore on their 7-foot Air Force surplus raft. Packed into their raft was minimal diving gear, fins, masks, snorkels, and a few small bags for like supplies and food and such. There was no heavy scuba equipment because this is what they called a skin dive, or aka they were snorkeling. This was very common for teenagers. Brian would later describe the raft as small and somewhat unstable, as in would easily tip over if the waves got too big. Their intended destination was the wreck of the USS Massachusetts. Now, there's 2 USS Massachusetts. One literally in Massachusetts. Well, I think it's still there. And then this one that is off the coast of Pensacola. The USS Massachusetts was one of 4 ships of its kind commissioned by Congress in 1890. It suffered from extremely poor design, and it was called by historians, quote, the worst battleship ever made.
Oh.
However, it did prove itself worthy in the U.S. victory of the Spanish-American War, if you want to claim that. Because of its poor design, the ship had numerous accidents, and it needed extensive repairs and upgrades, and that was fucking expensive. Therefore, it was retired and recommissioned. Then, in 1910, the Secretary of the Navy declared all 3 ships worthless and obsolete. And that's a quote. Damn. And retired them for a second time. The USS Massachusetts did some work as like this cruise ship for sailors, which I don't really know what that was. Like vacation for like the boys.
I don't know. Maybe they just want to go fishing.
Boys Club?
Shit?
Yeah, maybe. Know. And also took a large group to the coronation of King George in England in 1911.
Okay, so it's worthless and obsolete, but we're gonna take it to England.
Cross the Atlantic.
Yeah,
please.
we're gonna go across the pond.
I just think it wasn't good for like wars.
But like how is it so bad that it's like getting in trouble all the time?
Everyone hates on it, like really badly.
Okay, someone explain to me what happened.
And then it was briefly recommissioned one last time as a target practice ship, as in something obviously for guns to practice hitting during World War I. And then it was retired for the third and final time in 1919. A year later, the battleship was then brought down to Pensacola for the naval base there to practice shooting, and that's where it's at now. They sunk it. Wrecked in only about 30 feet of water, and is currently used as an artificial reef.
Fun.
Nothing that I could find, I just want to point this out here, would suggest that this shipwreck is haunted in any way. A lot of people go there diving. I haven't been able to come across a single story. Now, the other one, that bitch is haunted.
Yeah, that girl.
The one up north is haunted.
She's haunted.
But old USS Massachusetts, I couldn't find anything to claim that. So I just want to put that in our minds because someone might be like, it's cursed, it's haunted.
It's cursed.
I didn't find anything on that. The USS Massachusetts was a few miles offshore in what we know is relatively shallow water. A depth of 30 feet seems pretty safe for young divers without scuba gear, to be completely honest. Yeah. And not to mention, the Gulf of Mexico, which I am calling it Gulf of Mexico, is very calm waters. Like, the waves, unless there's a big storm rolling in, like for the most part, like 30 feet of water to dive in, like you can snorkel that.
Yeah, that's really good.
I've snorkeled deeper and anywhere else in the Caribbean.
Let me tell you something. I've gone snuba in way deeper than that. I should have been doing that. I had no business doing that.
Yeah. Well, on their way out, Brian said that he and his friends, they were joking and they were laughing as they were paddling, and they were just full of this youthful confidence, joking about finding possible treasures on the wreck, like the Holy Grail. Like they were just teenage boys.
Yeah.
You know?
So fun.
But the Gulf of Mexico can shift pretty rapidly, and by mid-morning, these dark clouds began forming up ahead of them. Brian's accounts describe a sudden change in wind and tide. Waves began to rock their small raft, and then the sky darkened with a fog that was rolling in faster than they could react.
Dude, one thing about the Gulf is it will get a riptide like you have never felt in your fucking life.
Yeah. The boys attempted to maintain their course, but the current near the Pensacola Pass, which is, I'm pretty sure, this channel that the current would take them out, from my understanding. It was a channel that the current would then take them out to that wreckage.
Yes.
Was stronger than they realized. Each stroke of their oars felt like it was moving them backwards as the Gulf slowly began to pull them further and further from shore. The boys knew, okay, we're not going to be diving today. And a matter of fact, they actually stopped and took a cigarette break and were like, boys, it's looking bad out there.
We need to turn it around.
We're going to need to turn. Meanwhile, they're like getting absolutely drug out.
Yeah. They're like, why are you stopping for a cigarette break in this channel right now?
They turned around and tried to paddle their way back, but the water was just pulling them backwards, further and further out from shore.
My personal nightmare.
Up ahead of them in the channel was a small Chris Craft boat, which Chris Craft boats in the 60s were those, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I describe it, are those luxury boats that you often will see in Europe. They're wooden and people will get wedding and engagement pictures on. There's usually only like one row in the front. And they're stunning boats, but they're very like luxe.
Yeah.
However, the driver of the boat, who was this old woman, was facing the other way. So she is now headed towards shore, and the boys are kind of tailing her. Yeah. I mean, pretty far behind. But again, they have oars and she's got a motor. And also, I want to come back and talk about her because it's very fucking sus that a woman in the 60s is driving a boat around.
I was about to say, what is she doing?
Yes. And she's got a motor, so it's probably loud. I mean, the storm's rolling in, the wind's probably picking up. She's going towards the shore, and the boys are trying to go towards shore, but they're just getting pulled back further and further away from her. The boys start screaming, Mayday, Mayday, like, help us, help us. Like, they know that this little air raft is not going to make it. But it was really difficult for them to yell and wave and like try to make a scene without rocking the boat and tipping over.
Right.
But the old woman does eerily turn towards them and smiles and waves.
No.
Hey, boys.
Girly Pop, do you not see that these are 16, 14-year-olds?
And for a second, the boys began screaming to each other, thank God, she's going to help us. We're saved, we're saved, we're saved. But she doesn't veer from her course. She just turns around and continues going up the channel.
I don't think she's real.
Shore. We'll talk about her.
Okay, we'll come back.
Because I have a lot of theories about her.
Okay.
Brad then takes off his shirt, which is bright red, ties his shirt to the tip of a shark gun that they have, and fires it towards the old woman.
Right.
But it was about 50 feet short, and she and her boat quickly got out of sight. And Brian said that this is when the situation really escalated quickly because now panic set in.
Yeah.
The waves were bigger than they ever should have been for that part of the Gulf. The raft started taking on water, and the boys were shouting instructions over top of each other to one another over loud wind and crashing waves. They saw a buoy up ahead on the channel, so Brian suggested that we need to go tie off to that buoy. So they tried to anchor to the buoy on the channel, but the rope snapped, sending the raft drifting again out towards sea. Panic set in as this deep, thick fog rolled over top of them, and visibility dropped to nearly nothing. God. Brian later wrote that the sea started to smell foul, like rotting fish, even somewhat metallic, and it was a detail that he recalled vividly.
Oh, no.
And then in the fog, shadows started appearing.
Oh, hell no.
Shapes that very well could have been waves or could have been something else entirely. And that's when panic took hold. One of the boys screams in fear that the shadow is swimming under the raft.
Oh, hell no.
So they're all thinking fucking shark.
Yeah.
The current began tugging violently, and then a huge wave sucked up the water, sending them towards the bottom of the wave when the raft capsized.
Oh my God.
Throwing all 5 into dark gray water.
With a shadow in it.
Luckily, they all had their fins on.
Okay.
So they resurface, and Brian yells, "We need to keep together. Let's get back to the raft. Get back to the raft." So Brian and Eric were swimming together up ahead, and the 3 other boys were together just behind them.
Okay.
They were trying to remain calm in this obvious horrendous current, this riptide, by taking like long strategic strokes, like just trying to maintain themselves. And that's when they hear a hissing sound, only to turn around and see a creature appear out of the fog. According to Brian, it was this long, dark shape rising up from the water almost 10 feet high. It had a like bulbous head and a neck that seemed to resemble a snake. It really sounds like the Loch Ness Monster.
Right.
And then one of the boys yells, "It's got Brad," before disappearing himself. Brian is clinging on to the raft, yelling for his friends in what I can imagine is a fucking terrifying scene. He said it was chaotic, surreal. Waves were breaking over him. Salt was stinging his eyes. There was no visibility but this big fucking shadow of whatever monster was in front of them. He's screaming for his friends, and there's no response. One by one, the boys were gone. He remembered thinking repeatedly that he was not going to survive this. Amid the chaos, Brian then made his way towards what he would later identify as the wreck of the USS Massachusetts. So they basically were there.
Yeah, they were there.
Using debris from the raft as flotation, he clung to the wreckage of the ship. Because again, it's a big fucking USS Navy ship sunk in only 20 to 30 feet of water.
Right.
So like it's sticking up.
Yeah.
So he's able to hold on to this with debris from the raft as flotation throughout the night, shivering and terrified while the fog and the waves blocked any sign of his friends. By morning, he somehow, doesn't very well remember, manages to drag himself to the shore, exhausted, traumatized, with only the memory of this creature burned into his mind. And the next thing he knew, he was in the hospital. After an extensive search from planes and divers, 16-year-old Eric Ruley, 17-year-old Warren Soley, 15-year-old Larry Stewart Bill, and 14-year-old Bradford Rice are assumed to have drowned, however, are all still presumed missing.
Oh, whoa.
In the aftermath, Brian was very frustrated with the local coverage of the events that took place, and he continues to tell his story even today. But what really happened to Brian McCleary and his 4 friends that day remains a mystery. So we're going to go walk through it all. Over the decades, researchers, skeptics, and cryptozoologists have proposed a lot of explanations. And one popular theory suggests that Brian may have misidentified a known sea creature. The Gulf of Mexico is home to giant groupers, large eels, dolphins, manatees, sharks, and in rough, foggy conditions, even a familiar animal can appear fucking monstrous.
Yeah, especially when you're like terrified.
Exactly. He described the creature he saw as like a long pole with a bulb on top, a description that could fit the round head of a manatee or the dorsal fin of a shark cutting through waves. A tall wave. Perhaps what he perceived as the sea serpent was in reality just a large marine animal spotted under obvious terrifying conditions. Another explanation is more on like physiology, which would be hypothermia and shock can create hallucinations. Brian had been in cold water for hours, up to at least 12 hours, according to the Navy doctors, clinging to this capsized raft and battling currents far stronger than he ever realized. And in these conditions, the mind can conjure vivid, terrifying images. To him, waves, debris, and currents could have become a living, threatening monster. Some suggest that his account might have changed over time. Trauma can warp the memory, and when he eventually told his story to the Fate magazine in 1965, the details, some believe, may have shifted more towards the dramatic. A lone survivor recounting the terrifying events of a storm and capsized raft could easily transform reality into something that is not, consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah.
Or subconsciously, I mean. Some researchers have suggested a far less mysterious, but just as terrifying possibility that the boys were victims of a shark attack. The waters off Pensacola are home to several large shark species, including bull sharks and blacktip sharks, both capable of very aggressive behavior.
And they're near that wreckage.
Exactly, especially during rough weather or when prey is struggling in the surf. Brian's account describes sudden disappearances of his friends, like one by one, frantic thrashing in the water, and a creature that seems to strike pretty quickly before vanishing. Some people argue that this could match the behavior of a predatory shark, like a rapid strike, dragging victims under, leaving only debris, disturbed water behind. He said it was gray, but if it was so dark from the storm, could that have been blood?
Right.
The description of the long pole with a bulb on top might reflect the shark's fin breaking the surface, particularly if seen in poor visibility, fog, or stormy conditions. People also point out that Brian survived because he clung to the overturned raft and the floating debris, staying above water, which apparently is pretty consistent with known survival strategies during shark incidents. Meanwhile, the others separated from the raft could have been overwhelmed by the currents or taken under by the shark. Or maybe he did encounter cryptid, not yet known. However, I was talking to my friend at work today, a coworker, and I was like, I just wonder, out of curiosity, the old lady, she seems like one of the four horsemen, like something bad, like an omen or like a moth woman situation.
Like something about that just isn't right.
It isn't right. So I was like, I wonder, because
we're feminists.
I had already done my notes. I was like, first off, here's the red flag I have. It's 1960. There's no report. Or she's driving a boat, number one, by herself, without a male on the boat in the 1960s.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't even get divorced until 1970. Literally. 80, 90, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't sit with me.
You couldn't even get a bank account until the 70s.
Right, exactly.
So
she's on this boat by herself, knows it pretty well, obviously knows the channel well. So she's probably pretty wealthy in the area. So I start looking up, are there any cryptids in the Gulf, like known cryptids in the Gulf of Mexico? And there is one. It's called, I think it's the Luxia. Known cryptids. I didn't put notes on it. I was done with my notes and I was just talking about this, but you will eat this up. And if you looked at it, like the picture of it, you wouldn't think that is what he's describing, because it doesn't look like that at all. It kind of looks like a shark with like octopus tentacles, and it's called the
that would make sense with them grabbing one at a time.
Yes, it's called the Lusca. So this is the description of it, and this is a cryptid in the Gulf of Mexico, but it doesn't look like the Loch Ness monster that he was describing. I just want to read this little excerpt here. It's from southernmostghost.com. What is the Lusca? Speculation abounds as to what the Lusca might truly be. Dozens of diverging tales about its origin and manner of boogeyman or fierce creature of the deep they might be. The theories are as follows. The ghost of a drowned woman transformed into a beast. Hair, not tentacles, gliding behind it, dragging men down to the bottom of the ocean. A creature that is similar to the dreaded banshee or La Llorona.
Oh my God.
A specter caught in an endless loop, spurred by either her grief or her anger.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, here's what I have to say about the said woman. The reason I think she's not real, like, and not saying that he didn't see her, but what I mean is like she was a ghost.
I'm sorry. Before you say
Go
that,
ahead.
I know what I wanted to say. There is no, on any of the reports, did she come forward and say, I saw these boys in this channel?
That is exactly my point.
Now,
there's no way.
One reason is that her husband might have beat her ass.
Might have not known that she was out there.
He knew that she had the boat alone.
Right.
Number one. Or two, she didn't fucking exist.
Because here's the thing. I do not think that a woman would go by a bunch of young boys in the middle of a storm and not pull up to them and be like, I don't think anyone on a boat out there, no, I'm talking men included, would have pulled up and been like, you little turds need to get back.
And they would have had to pass
At some point. Yes, at some point.
So like either she was eerily like hanging around and the boys just like got pulled out too quickly.
Right.
And like she didn't know what was going on behind her.
Right.
Or
but she turns around and waves to them.
Because they're screaming, Mayday, Mayday.
Yes, like
help.
that would not happen. No one out on a boat would see a bunch of kids on a little shitter like that with oars out there in the middle of a storm and not turn around and go back and be like, are you guys okay? Do you guys have what you need? Like, da-da-da-da-da. Because there's like this unspoken, unwritten rule of the sea, for maritime people. Like, you go and you help each other. That's what you have to do.
And the boys, like, they weren't inexperienced. Like,
no.
they had their shark
and
rifle.
He was in a red shirt.
They knew to do Mayday. They knew to do like a distress signal.
Yes.
They knew to have when the weather got bad, they threw their fins on.
And you can't tell me that they were only waving their hands. They had those oars up. They had things up in the air, like shaking them the entire time. What I do find out is that they had on it's a bunch of boys, but like no girls would have like all their fins on because we'd be stepping over each other.
Well, I think that
maybe they did that.
You have to. I guess this is my logic that they probably put it on when they saw I was getting bad.
When it was getting out
and they're
of hand.
in a literal blow up raft,
literally
with an oar. So like chances are you're gonna get flipped if the waves get crazy.
Prepped.
So like maybe they were being proactive in between their cigarette breaks. No, I don't.
Literally. But, I mean, probably. I mean, if they had the time from the time that this shit started, coming in, the bad storm, to take a cigarette break and try and figure it out. Like, there's more time in here. This is just happening so fast in his mind when he's recalling it. So there's literally no telling what. Because also, when you're fighting water, when you're treading water, there are like everything's in snapshots of everything that's happening to you. If you guys have ever like accidentally gotten yourself into a situation in the ocean, being pulled out, like kind of can't get your breath, you're getting piled on by waves, like you're coming up and you're in panic. So everything is happening like snapshots for you, and it feels like 10 years that it's going on, but at the same time, seconds that's happening. So I'm sure for him, in those waves that were big enough to capsize the boat, he is coming up and his friends are going one by one by one by one. Damn.
Wait, I want to read one more thing about the Luska.
I have so much
because there's
to talk
other
about
theories. A mermaid. To many sailors, Luskas are in reality mermaid or merman, nymphs from ancient myths put on Earth to vex travelers and drown them. She's very much giving like modern day siren.
Right, like she was out there calling them
Ursula.
to her. Yes.
Like, I'm just saying. Or a dragon-like being, perhaps the last of its kind. Others believe the Luska is a lost dragon, something from the Orient, a remnant from an ancient civilization of massive beings now in exile and forced to hide in underwater caves. And a dragon kind of tracks with the long neck situation that goes on.
The bulbous situation.
And then also an evil spirit. This is another option for it. An evil spirit that takes the form of its intended victim's worst fears. So if for Brian per se, like if this was this cryptid and Brian's terrified of snakes, I don't know, but let's just say he is. What's he going to see out there? It's going to take you the form of your worst fear.
Right.
A large sea serpent.
That is so true.
It's very, very interesting.
No, that's crazy.
There's one more thing I wanted to say and I fucking forget it.
Okay, run it back. You were talking about
crazy lady.
You guys were talking about this at work.
Keep singing. Keep singing. Yes.
I
can't fucking remember, but either way,
it'll probably hit you.
There is a notice when I went on to like diving, like what you should know, USS Massachusetts, that you should go with a guide because like tying up out there, and you should always go with a knife, which is like pretty common if you're snorkeling and scuba diving in like a
place where you can get caught on shit.
Exactly. But it's that you should go for a guide because it's very often that people, it's kind of hard to find, and also that it's like very dangerous to tie up
out there. I mean, you think if they'd known this and it's been in trouble.
I know what I wanted to say. There are some theories that I saw on Reddit that are like pretty fucking terrible.
Okay.
And it's making Brian the bad guy. You can assume the worst from here.
Yep.
And I just want to say that like nobody would go through 12 hours abandoned at sea and risk your life. Like he had the injuries to prove it.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
So I just want to shut that one down because it popped in my mind. I saw it on Reddit, and then after like a lot of thought, they're young teenage boys too. Like I would never. Who would want to carry that with them for the rest of their life and turn it into some monster story to tell for the right? You know? And I do find it's weird that not a single belonging of any of the other 4 boys was ever found
because that's like it was eaten.
Yeah,
and those people are actually dead. So like,
right?
Though you never know what to see.
Like, and also could have just been like a ghost lady.
Yeah, I mean that to me, it's
and
like
the storm came out in the fog and the hissing and the
she's
smell,
coming as it's coming in.
Putrid smell
with it's like demonic.
Right, it was like almost immediate. Once they realized that she wasn't saving them, he said it was immediately like it went crazy.
Like she was like the horseman for the leading it in.
Yeah,
the fact that she turned around and waved. Is crazy.
You have chills thinking
about it. No, I see it in my mind.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Anyway, that's my story.
That was a really good story. I liked it a lot.
Pensacola Sea Monster.
Well, I can't wait for my next trip back down to Pensacola, and I'm going to tell everybody about it.
I know.
It's going to be the only thing that I talk about while we're down there.
Fun fact, not so fun fact.
Now I want to go to the Massachusetts.
I know.
Nice. Logan wanted me to go scuba diving, or not scuba diving, snorkeling with him at it last time we were down there. He said, come on, we could do it. And I was like, no, this is not for me.
Well, take a tour guide.
I'm not about that. But maybe now I will just so I can tell the story.
I do find it interesting, though, that you don't really hear a lot of like stories like this in the Gulf.
Well, you have to remember, too, the Gulf is heavily militarized.
True. I feel like the Gulf is also like heavily spiritually protected. And also, not to go back to the woman because we do have to move on, but any female that I know
I can't stop thinking about her,
would go to the police, the Coast Guard, and be like, I saw the boys right here,
right outside the Massachusetts.
If you're driving that boat by yourself, you know the waters. I saw them right here. You need to search here.
Yes, like that is where I saw them.
Like, where are those reports?
See, she would have done it. I don't think she was a human. There is no fucking way. And honest to God, I really do believe that even if she wasn't supposed to be there, she still would have gone and reported it.
Yeah,
definitely, because that shit would kill me if I had if I saw that and I didn't help and I didn't go immediately to try and help as much as I could after the fact.
Yeah, because
that could have limited their search area completely. They wouldn't be going up and down the coast. They'd be at the Massachusetts and then going out from there based on the currents.
Yeah,
damn, that was crazy, Morgan. I have to pee though, so take a pause before
pee break.
We get to mine. Yes. Okay, so the case I have for you... shit.
Honestly, can I have your water again?
Yeah. You can literally keep it over there.
Thank God.
Okay.
I'm thirsty.
So the case I have for you guys today is the case of Kristen Modafferi. I really thought I had covered this case before because her name is so familiar to me, but I think I've just listened to so many podcasts cover her case. I've tried my best to find things based on the podcasts that I've listened to that aren't mentioned, and because of that, we went a little long. So buckle in, everybody.
Buckle in.
It has been a few days since Bob Modafferi had heard from his freshly 18-year-old daughter, Kristen, who was spending her summer in San Francisco in June of 1997. He didn't want to be a bother or seem like a helicopter parent while she was on her first little solo young adult adventure. Also taking into account that on top of her 2 jobs and what exploring that she could squeeze in, she had literally just started her summer courses at UC Berkeley around the same time that her calls had slowed down. So she was probably just adjusting to her new routine and schedule after 3 weeks of being on the West Coast. But he was a girl dad at heart, so he did what any dad would do and decided to call her and leave the most I'm a chill dad voicemail that he could conjure up, saying something along the lines of hey, big city girl, it's your dad. Don't forget about us little East Coast family members over here.
Okay, Dad.
Haven't heard from you in a few days. Need an update on your adventures. Call me back. Love you. The next morning, June 26, Bob gets a call on his office line. He answers, and on the other line is a young man who introduces himself as Griffin, one of Kristen's roommates. He was clearly very nervous on the call, but wasted no time explaining to Bob why it was him calling instead of his daughter. You see, none of the 4 roommates had seen Kristen in 3 days. She was missing, and they were all worried about her, especially after hearing Bob's voicemail from the day before, which is when they realized that it wasn't only them who hadn't seen or heard from her. So right before calling Bob, Griffin and the roommates had actually called the Oakland Police Department and reported Kristen missing. The next morning, Friday, June 27th, exactly a year before I was born, Bob and Debbie, his wife, Kristen's mother, were on the next flight to San Francisco to search for their daughter. Kristen Deborah Modafferi was born on June 1st, 1979 to Debbie and Bob Modafferi as the second of their 4 daughters.
Wow.
With Allison being the oldest and then Lauren and Megan being the 2 youngest. So it went Allison, Kristen, Lauren, and Megan. Bob was an electrical engineer and Debbie was a teacher turned part-time teacher who raised their daughters in Charlotte, North Carolina. Kristen was an incredibly intelligent, super driven, and just a really good kid. So much so that she actually graduated from Providence High School a year early and was awarded a full 4-year scholarship to NC State.
Wow.
Completing her freshman year at the college just before her 18th birthday. Excited to get more into her major's classes, which was industrial design, her next year. But like I said, Kristen was super driven and so eager to start school again and explore that she proposed the plan to her parents. She would take photography courses at UC Berkeley in the San Francisco Bay Area that would fully transfer back to NC State through this program that they had for summer school. And she wouldn't stop there. She would get a full-time and part-time job in order to cover all of her expenses, including renting a room that she found on an ad for Craigslist for other people doing this. Her parents were not all about this at first,
no one ever
especially her
moving
mother
across the country.
Yeah, from the East Coast to the West Coast fully. Yeah. But Bob, her dad, felt that this would be really good for Kristen. She was very responsible, and plus, she literally was entering her sophomore year of college, and he knew how important it was that she would feel confident to take on adulthood, especially being a year younger than everyone. So this was her first baby step towards that, and he really trusted her. But to her mom, Debbie, this was her barely 18-year-old baby, who she didn't have to worry about too much while in college because Allison, the oldest sister, was a junior there as well. After some convincing from Bob and Kristen, the 2 amigos, though, Debbie finally agreed. So on Kristen's 18th birthday, June 1st, 1997, she hugged her parents and 3 sisters goodbye for the summer and hopped on the next plane to San Francisco. Kristen moved into the rented room in this house in Oakland where she had 4 male housemates, and she quickly got herself 2 jobs. The first one working weekdays at Spinelli's, which was a local coffee shop, or maybe it's not local, but it was in the area, coffee shop.
I love that name.
And I do too.
I bet it's banging.
Honestly, I bet they have a really good croissant for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And if they don't, at least a good chocolate chip cookie.
For sure.
Yeah. And then the second one being weekend shifts at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, both which started immediately. In her free time, Kristen explored as much as she could, calling home to her family any chance she could get to tell them all about her ventures, cramming in as much as she could into those first 3 weeks before her classes were set to begin on June 24th. The day before, however, would be the last time that anyone spoke to or heard from Kristen. Now, going back to where we left off, it's Friday, June 27th, 1997. Bob and Debbie land in San Francisco and take a taxi directly to the Oakland Police Department with their luggage in hand. They walk up to the desk officer and explain the situation, but all the desk officer does is check the clock, letting them know that it's just after 4 p.m., meaning that the investigators assigned to Kristen's case were already gone for the day, so they would need to return on Monday if they wanted to speak with them. In absolute utter shock, Bob and Debbie try to protest this, asking if there was anyone that they could speak to. But the desk officer says the classic script that we all know too well after 268 episodes of this shit. Well, sir, your daughter's only been missing for 4 days, and you said it yourself. She's 18 and out here for the summer on her big adventure, meaning she's an adult, and I'm sure she's going to show up by the end of the weekend.
For only 4 days.
Yeah. For only 4 days, you're 18, mind you, turned 18 3 weeks earlier, daughter will be back. I'm sure she's going to turn up. No need to worry. So Bob and Debbie are forced to do the only thing that they could, search for Kristen themselves in an unfamiliar town where they knew no one, knowing that their daughter had literally just turned 18 3 weeks earlier and would never worry them like this. I've said it a million times already, just going through this script with you, but just to reiterate again, Kristen was their golden child. She was smart, responsible, hardworking, kind, thoughtful, and cautious. She was not a runaway or a girl that maybe partied a little too hard and got caught up somewhere she's not supposed to be. Kristen knew it was a big deal that her parents, specifically her mother, even agreed to let her take this leap in the first place. And she was so grateful that they did this. She would have never abused the power the trust that they gave her to go out here. Bob and Debbie went door to door asking anyone if they had seen their daughter, hanging up flyers, looking for help. They quickly hired Graham Desverning, I think, D. Okay, he was a retired FBI agent turned private investigator to work alongside them. The three of them sat down with Kristen's 4 roommates and learned that they hadn't seen Kristen since the morning of Monday, June 23rd, when she left for work at the coffee shop, Spinelli's. But unfortunately, that was it. And Kristen didn't just show up like they had hoped based on what the desk officer had told them. So the second the Oakland Police Department doors opened on Monday morning, Bob and Debbie were walking through those doors. They were able to meet and sit down with Officer Patrick Mahaney, the lead investigator on Kristen's case, as well as Sergeant Bradley, who was also working the case with Mahaney. And very quickly, Bob and Debbie were able to convince the two of them that Kristen was not the runaway that they all assumed she was. Mahaney and Bradley immediately began their official investigation, trying to nail down a timeline of Kristen's last movements, starting by interviewing her 4 roommates. Just like they had told Kristen's parents and the PI, the roommates explained that none of them had seen or heard from her since she left for work exactly a week before. So their next stop was Spinelli's, the coffee shop, where they learned from the manager and co-workers of Kristen's that she did show up for her shift on that Monday, leaving once her shift was over at 3 p.m. Nothing seemed off. She was her normal, happy, and bubbly self, but she did ask some of her co-workers something that would turn into investigators' next clue. As Kristen's shift was wrapping up on Monday, June 23rd, she asked a few of her co-workers that were local for directions to a shoreline park called Land's End. This park sits within the Golden Gate National Recreation area and has a breathtaking view of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's mostly the rocky and windswept Pacific Ocean shoreline, trees, and numerous hiking trails that follow the old ferries and Cliff House railway railbeds. But the most traveled trail in Land's End is the Coast Trail. This is the tourist destination and exactly what Kristen was looking for and asking about. The trail follows the railbed off the old Cliff House railway to the old Cliff House that sits on, you guessed it, a giant rocky cliff overlooking the ocean. When Mahaney and Bradley hear this from the Spinelli's workers that had been working with Kristen a week before, their hearts immediately drop because after working so many missing persons cases in this area, they know that this spot is known for not only its beauty, but its accidents. Many people fall off this cliff and into the rocky ocean every single year. Sometimes their bodies wash up to the shore, but several don't because of just how treacherous it is. However, it was peak tourist season and they hadn't received any reports of anyone, specifically a solo young woman, falling off the cliffs. That's not to say that it's not possible, but it at least gave them some hope. So
and if she was going there at 3 p.m., this daylight would have still been out.
Yeah, and also like it's June, so it's peak tourist season. At 3 p.m. up there, I'm sure it's popping.
Yeah.
So investigators bring out scent dogs and they give them a piece of Kristen's clothes and they take them to Spinelli's where the dogs immediately picked up on her scent, leading investigators to the bus stop just down the road from Spinelli's that Kristen would have had to take to Land's End, which is where they take the dogs next. And again, the dogs were able to pick up Kristen's scent from the Land's End bus stop and lead investigators up the coastal trail directly to the old Cliff House overlook. And that is where her scent ended. Investigators canvassed the area, asking any and everyone if they had seen Kristen, showing her picture to each person that they stopped and all of the workers, like, you know, the rangers and everybody up there, but no one had seen her or recognized her, which wasn't surprising considering, like I said, this is a major tourist stop, meaning once you've seen it, you're probably not going to come back a week later. You know, you're probably already back home. Still, though, there were no signs that she had fallen or gotten stuck in any of these areas. So they're forced to believe for the time being that she likely just walked directly back where she came from. So down the trail again and onto the bus, which means that the dogs wouldn't know that she had done it twice. You know what I mean? And likely had gone to her next location, which we know wasn't home, a location that no one knew about. Based on what they had learned from Kristen's coworkers, no one knew if she was like planning planning to meet anyone it lands in. So they decided to go back to her rented house and ask her roommates if she had made any mention about a new friend or enemies that she might have made along the way, while also looking through her belongings to see if there were any clues about going to the Overlook, you know, with someone or meeting anyone that they could have potentially overlooked the first time that they searched her house. Nothing stood out to investigators on their second search, but they did get some new information from her housemates. They explained that they did not know of any enemies Kristen might have made, but doubted she had. The only thing that they could possibly think of that would put her in harm's way is her personality. You see, Kristen was a very kind, open, bubbly person and assumed the best in everyone. She was cautious, but then again, she was freshly 18, basically still 17, and this was the 90s.
Yeah.
So her frontal lobe is still solidifying, and hitchhiking was where it was at this point in time. Something that Kristen had done a few times since being in the Bay Area, according to her roommates, which was only reinforced by the story that the housemates were able to tell investigators. See, apparently a week prior to this, Kristen had gone to a concert and missed the last train back to Oakland. Kristen was like, no big deal. I'm just gonna crash on this park bench and sleep here until the bus starts running again, because she was like right by the bus stop. And this guy she was with was like, no, this is not a safe area. You should just come back to my brother's place where he was visiting and you can crash on his couch. Mind you, Kristen had just met this guy at the concert, and nonetheless, she agrees because it's safer than being out on a park bench. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. So she spends the night on this dude's brother's couch.
Not in today's age, but yeah, in the 90s.
In the 90s, yeah. You know, you didn't have a cell phone that you could, she didn't at least, that you could call. And she returns to her house the next morning, retelling this crazy story to her 4 roommates as they drink their morning coffees. Somehow, investigators were able to actually track down and clear dude from the concert and his brother, learning that he was actually just like a good guy that was looking out for his concert going buddy that he had just made. But it made them wonder if maybe she had met a not so nice friend along the way. The only way that they would be able to figure that out, however, was by getting Kristen's picture and story as far and wide as possible. So they began painting the city with missing persons flyers, taking the story to every newspaper and local news channel that they could. Before they knew it, 2 weeks had passed by and there were no new leads. They were no closer to finding Kristen, and at this point, Bob and Debbie were forced to do what felt like the unthinkable when they first arrived in San Francisco on June 27th. They needed to return home to Charlotte without their daughter. They had to work. They had 3 other daughters they had to care for, and they really needed to relieve their oldest daughter, Allison, who was now caring for her 2 youngest sisters, who were 15 and 7 years old at the time. But they felt reassured by Mahaney and Bradley that they would continue to search for Kristen and keep them updated at every moment. Well, just 2 days after returning to North Carolina, Mahaney and Bradley got their next big break in Kristen's case, this time from a local news channel. Apparently, they had received an anonymous call from a man claiming that Kristen was killed by 2 local women who dumped her body under a wooden bridge a few hours north of San Francisco in Marin County. Because Kristen and these 2 women were apparently in this like love triangle that had gotten messy. And the anonymous man even gives the names of these 2 women to police. So immediately, investigators track down these women and bring them in for questioning. Basically, these women had no idea what the fuck they were talking about or why the fuck anyone would accuse them of something so crazy, because they had no idea who Kristen was outside of seeing her case on the news recently and couldn't begin to make any potential connections that they could have to her.
Did the two of them know each other?
Yeah, they both worked together. Therefore, the next natural question investigators had for these women was like, is there any man you could think of that would make this false claim about the 2 of you? Well, the only man insane enough to do something like this that they knew of was a guy named John Onuma. He was the boyfriend of this other girl that they worked with at the local YMCA named Jill Lampo. And for whatever reason, John believed that these 2 women were like in a conspiracy to get Jill fired and were bullying her.
Oh boy.
And so, and like again, Jill is his girlfriend. So he had been like harassing them, and they were like,
and then you try to put a murder or a disappearance on them?
Right. Like, what the fuck?
Over the why?
So immediately, investigators go and track this John dude down and confront him. He eventually fesses up to making the call, but claims that he didn't really know anything about Kristen. He just wanted to get those two women in trouble. But before investigators could begin to reprimand him, and I'm sure like begin the process of filing, you know, a false claims or false lead, whatever that law is or whatever that illegal thing is against him, John says, look, though I don't know Kristen or what happened to her, I might have something that can help you. And whatever he told him has never been released or reported on in any official manner. I looked everywhere for it because I kept thinking all these podcasts that were saying this, I was like, why are we saying this and not looking for it? But it's literally in like Reader's Digest and like all these mega like
and nothing
articles. And it's just like, he said this and that was that. Weird.
That is very weird.
Mahaney and Bradley must have felt like this was a where there's smoke, there's fire type of situation, because they actually went and searched all of the wooden bridges in Marin County, coming up empty-handed. But something about John nagged them still, but nothing was clicking. So in order to keep the investigation moving, trusting that something would likely tie them back to him at some point if their hunch was right, they put a star by his name and just continued on exploring other leads that they were getting. As for Kristen's family, they were doing everything that they could. They were going on any show that would have them. America's Most Wanted. They were hosting press conferences, pleas to the public for information, doing every and any interview that they could get to get Kristen's story as far and wide as possible. Fast forward to early 1998, it had been over 6 months since Kristen had gone missing. And Mahaney and Bradley finally get the puzzle piece that they needed to move in a little bit more on Mr. John, the caller with the two women. After getting a tip that he likes to put personal ads in the classifieds as a way to meet women. Now, the reason this stands out to investigators is...
What about his girlfriend?
She's still there.
Okay.
Yeah. Jill. Now, the reason this stands out to investigators is because of something that her parents saw and noted in Kristen's room when they searched it on their own. It was a personal ad that had run in the classifieds the week of June 11th, 1997 in the San Francisco Guardian, just before she went missing. And it read, "Friends. Female seeking friends to share activities, who enjoy music, photography, working out, walks, coffee, or simply exploring the Bay Area. Interested? Call me." And back then they had like a voicemail that you could log into, kind of like a PO box for the pub, like whoever makes these ads. And so like that's how anyone would get responses. And Kristen's family believed that it was Kristen that had probably ran this, because the San Francisco Guardian at the time, the week of June 11th, they were running a promotion offering free personal ads. And not only does it list every single thing that Kristen loved to do and wanted to do, but just days before this ad ran, Bob and Debbie vividly remembered having a conversation with Kristen where she complained about how hard it was to make girlfriends out there.
Aww.
So going back to John and his love for the personal ads and the classifieds, these women came forward to police and told them that they had responded to John's personal ads and barely made it out alive.
Oh, shit.
With John trapping them in his apartment and threatening one woman's life, saying, quote, "You know I'm going to have to kill you. I can't let you go. So now you know what happened to Kristen Modafferi."
Sorry?
End quote. Which is what prompted the tip to be sent in about his problems with the personal ads, because he specifically said her name.
What the fuck?
So now he has implemented himself 2 fucking times in the case. When investigators tracked down other women who were victims of John's personal ads, they alleged that John would hold them captive, torture them with physical and psychological abuse by beating and sleep depriving them, as well as sexually assaulting them.
It's fucking terrible.
Immediately, investigators got a search warrant for John's apartment. This is finally the thing that they needed to get the search warrant, where they allegedly were able to find traces of blood. It was sent off for testing, but came back as belonging to a cat, and it was Jill's cat that he killed when they were in a fight in the middle of the apartment.
He's a fucking psychopath.
This kind of started feeling like a dead end. Like they were hoping that this blood would be the next thing that they could get him in on.
I'm sorry, can we not still get him on it?
I guess since they don't have proof of it. But
charges of psychopath tendencies.
They did find one more thing, and it was his girlfriend, Jill's diary. So mind you, she works at the YMCA. Apparently these two girls were conspiring to get her fired.
That's right, bullying her, yeah.
Right, okay. Well, Jill kept a very detailed account of her life in multiple diaries, journaling almost every day of her life. And this journal that they found happened to be from the summer of 1997. Excited, investigators immediately pick it up, and they're flipping to get to June as fast as they can, which they were able to quickly find. And as they are going through the days in June, they have June 1st, 11th, 14th, 20th, and they flip to the page that should have been the day that Kristen went missing, but instead they're looking at entries from July. It's not like those weeks weren't journaled, however, because between that mid-June journal and the early or mid-July journal, there were several pages that had been torn out. So they confront Jill about this and ask her, A, where the fuck are these pages? And B, why'd you tear them out? What was on them? So Jill says, oh, I don't know. John must have ripped them out when we were in a fight. And they're like, no, why did he rip out those specific dates? And she said, okay, fine. Apparently, he said that there was some stuff in there that could have come back to hurt him. But that's all she would say.
Is she like, has she been missing the news?
Oh, like, where have you been, bitch?
Really, though?
What have you been doing? And because of that being the only thing she would say,
why are you protecting a man that killed your cat?
Investigators couldn't hold her or John on any charges because no one was willing to like press charges against him. He was so scary to these women.
That's so sad. It's so sad.
So fast forward again, we're now in either late 1998 or early 1999, depending on what reporting you're looking at, okay, and sources. And investigators are wanting to bring John in for some more questioning. Mind you, this is literally like 10 months. Okay, it's a long time, but like it was almost a year later, and they want to go get John back in because, you know, they're doing their best to like get cases against him so they could try and get him in and like question him for a long period of time.
And also just keep the pressure on him so he cracks eventually.
Exactly. But they can't find him.
Oh, can't keep the pressure on when he's missing.
Mm-hmm. And no one's snitching on where he's at. So it wouldn't be until May of 1999 when America's Most Wanted did another segment on Kristen's case that finally they get a tip that John was living in Hawaii. Mahaney was able to track him down and call him and convince him to come back to California to take a polygraph, promising, look, you say you've got nothing to do with this, so let's just settle it once and for all, and you take a polygraph. How about that?
And then go back and live your life.
And I'll leave you the fuck alone. You won't hear from me again. So John decides to take the test. He comes back to California and he claims that he passes the polygraph. Although this has never been confirmed by investigators. But you kind of have to believe that he actually did because he was set free, you know? Now, at this point in time, investigators have nothing on John to hold him. And they are even questioning if maybe they did exactly what they were trying not to do in trying to avoid this entire time by, you know, being like, okay, we trust that our hunch on this will come true and we'll get another tip that, you know, helps us. They were doing that because they didn't want to get tunnel vision on John. Mm-hmm. So they're thinking, fuck, did we get tunnel vision on this just horrible fucking guy because he's such a horrible fucking guy, but maybe has nothing to do with Kristen Modafferi?
Right. Just only mentioned her by name, called it in his own tip against two women that had no idea anything to do with her.
Like he probably just saw it on the news. It was right after they did the big
his girlfriend's diary dates of that weekend, and also has an inkling for classified ads, which we can assume she put one out.
Everything's aligning to look like it's him, but maybe it's all coincidence, even though they can't think like that because it's like they wanted to avoid getting tunnel vision. However,
I have tunnel vision.
In June of 2012, just before the 15th anniversary of Kristen's disappearance, a break was made in her case that led them directly back to John. But in order to explain how we got here, I'm going to have to tell you about a man named Dennis, which is where we are going to pick up next week in part 2.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I got tunnel vision on John. I'm going to tell you that right fucking now. I know that motherfucker's guilty.
Yeah. And when you hear what I'm about to tell you,
I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Luckily, he's already dead, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll just.
By 2012? Don't even tell me.
No, not by 2012.
Okay.
Like current day, 2025, he's dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick fuck.
So we will get into that, and then also some other things that have come up literally in recent years in Kristen's case.
I don't think you've talked about this, but I also feel like I've watched a documentary or something.
I know.
Like a 2020 way back when.
I fucking know. I thought I had covered this case. I was Morgan, I was so convinced I covered this case that I even was looking. I searched our episode list.
Classified ads and then the cat.
Yes.
And I don't know why it just clicked for me, but it did.
Or he reminds me of another missing girl case, which if that's the case, I would like to figure, if you guys are recognizing this case as one that I potentially have covered, can we please try to narrow down which one it was? Because I almost feel like there's another case
in the area
that he's involved in that maybe we have covered.
Yeah.
Because this guy's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and it sounds so familiar.
And clearly he's like a serial offender.
Yeah.
We'll get into way more detail about him.
I hate him.
Later. We'll talk more about him next week. Sorry to do this to you guys. Let me tell you, I got way deeper into this case than I thought I was going to.
It's good though.
Yeah, it's
sad,
crazy,
tragic.
all over the case. The fact that there's like a lot of questions still today, and like there's still things happening that are tying things back to people in this case. Like we'll get into everyone.
Ooh. I have a question for you. Are your eyes burning?
Yes.
I don't know why.
I think it's because I opened up the bathroom door and that bleach is coming out here.
No, I feel like it's the lights.
Oh. I think you're getting
like,
dry. I thought it was the bleach smell.
No, I think it's the lights that are bothering me. Like I got like
your eyes look glossy,
dude. I just felt like I was gonna die about 20 minutes ago. I would say, completely flushed. I had to get my hair off my fucking neck. I could feel my cheeks.
Your cheeks are red.
I bet 15 minutes ago they were probably purple, and I can't see.
Oh no, you have to drive home. So
I don't know I hate her.
Yeah, no, these lights are so bad.
Like
they're so bad.
I can feel heat radiating.
And these are the best lights in the world. Like
I feel like I've been in a tanning bed.
No, because that is such a claustrophobic feel that
like,
I want. Like when that 8 minutes is up and you're counting down and you're like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
We don't tan in tanning beds.
No, we haven't tanned in a long time. You know what I would
but
take?
We were chronic.
I will tell you right now. I think a tanning bed would heal me.
Dude, I would love to lay in a bed.
I'd lay in a tanning bed just one time, right?
I didn't care.
I'm not promoting tanning beds because I don't want to look wrinkly and scary, but I think it might cure my depression a little bit.
It would.
I think it would. It is. It's, you know what? If every now and again a bitch can smoke a cigarette after a night out.
It's snowing on November.
I can go lay in a tanning bed once.
2025.
Yeah.
In the South. If you want to lay in a tanning bed, we can.
Yeah, you know,
we're not going to, but
we're not going to, and we're not suggesting that anybody else does, but just saying,
stick to our self tanner and orange hands.
Yeah, and for the rest of the time, my bracelet will rub off spray tan first. So
yep.
You can't really convince me though that the chemicals in a spray tan are any better for you.
I agree.
You know, so. Actually, you can. I know there's actual research. I'm making jokes. I'm sorry.
I'm just doing girl math.
I'm sorry. Hey, guys, I'm grieving. Please calm down. I'm immediately going to pull that card. Please don't come at me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We're joking. Don't lay in a tanning bed. Put sunscreen on your face while we're here talking about it. Even though it's cold. You still have to do it.
Well, I'm about to start wearing sunscreen in here.
I know, because we are under UV lights. We're actually in a tanning bed right now. But Morgan, do you remember back in the day? Like, you know, not too long ago, a year ago, we had just raw like light coming at us. This is at least filtered light.
Do I remember that? For 3 weeks.
Yeah, you're right.
I used it. Actually, that's not true. When I recorded with Em, I said, shut it off.
You can't handle it anymore.
I went in dark mode.
Yeah, you have to.
I had just the LED behind me and my computer screen in a pitch black room.
You know what? That's the only fair way to do it.
That's all I could do.
Because it is, though, I don't know how we did it with those ring lights for as long as we did. I think about that every time we set up these because these are horrid.
Taylor, we had 4. We had the double.
Yes.
Boom, boom.
And no like blockage to get to us. It was straight to the eyes. Mm-hmm. Well, don't lay in tanning beds and stop using ring lights that blind you. And that is our PSA for today.
I love you. Bye.
Love you. Goodbye.